Welcome to Seeking the Sacred Self. I'm your host, Naomi Rozak. In this episode, I want to talk about why, on some levels, we need what I call a witness, an observer of our healing experience. And we'll talk about what that witness could look like. But first, let's talk about why self-awareness is an important thing, so that we can lead into the need to be witnessed. Everything that I'm doing on this podcast is with the idea of self-awareness in mind. We become aware of our thoughts, our feelings. We become aware of the information hidden inside and behind our feelings. And in this way, we can heal our whole lives. We are meant to be in tune with our bodies and the different levels of experience we have. Maybe different people have different degrees of awareness, or we have a strength in a certain direction of awareness. This is completely normal, but on some level, all of us are meant to have some awareness. Awareness allows us to know when we are in danger or when we are safe. Awareness tells us what might be about to happen, as well as what's happened before in circumstances like this. A finely tuned awareness keeps us able to shift when we need to, whether that's to meet a challenge that's coming toward us, or to see a need and respond by nurturing someone around us, or to do something as simple as nourish ourselves with food. Once upon a time, awareness meant life or death, and sometimes still does. However, we've talked enough by now about the big, difficult thing that can happen in our lives, often described as trauma or a traumatic environment. How this difficult thing severs some connection to who we are and how we feel who we are. In this disconnection response, we lose awareness of the vital pieces of ourselves. So when a piece of ourself is speaking to us and we aren't aware of it or can't feel it, that piece has a voice that goes unheard. It calls and calls. It asks us to be aware, and we just aren't. We might be completely unaware that this thing is going on, like a feeling pushed way down that we don't even know is there and didn't really make a conscious choice to push down. Or we might have a vague idea that something is there. An example could be when there's a loss of a loved one and we feel numb or disconnected from that loss. We can assume there is a grief inside us, but we can't feel it, or that numbness may be our expression of the grief. Have you ever been sitting with a friend talking about something in your life, and all of a sudden your voice wobbles a bit and your eyes tear up? And then you say, I don't know why I'm crying. I'm fine, really. Like, I haven't even been feeling that bad about this. But the act of putting into words something that you weren't even aware you were feeling brings the feeling up to the surface where you can feel its effect. And it feels good to cry. And when your friend looks at you with empathy, you feel how soothing, how relieving it was to say the thing that you found out was sitting inside you. That is something of which you were unaware, rising to the surface of your awareness. You didn't know you felt it until it came out of your mouth, and then all the feeling of what it was came bubbling up. What that friend did was provide a space for you to talk out and examine your experience. Their safe space and time allowed you to share outward what was inside. It freed some words that were stuck inside you, waiting to be said, and some feelings waiting to be felt. This is an example of being witnessed and what it can do for us. In my experience as a healing support to others, as a friend, and as a human being, there have been times when I could not move through either a feeling or some healing without being witnessed. I might even venture to say that we cannot heal without being witnessed. That sounds a bit bold, but hold on. I'll clear it up in a little while so it makes more sense for you. First of all, let's talk about what a witness is. It is a person who sees something take place, who has knowledge of an event or change from personal observation or experience. Or it's someone who testifies of the evidence or the truth of something. And if we witness something, it means we are simply observing or looking at it. When we're talking healing, a witness is not simply someone who sits on the sidelines, unlike what a witness might be in a court case. someone who saw something happen at a distance and then comes to talk about it. A witness to someone who is sharing their heart sits with the person in compassion and non-judgment. They are there to witness us, to truly see what our experience is, to see our pain, and in a way to validate that experience and that pain. To say, I see you, and I see how you are hurting. I sit with you in compassion because I am a human too, who also knows what it is to experience pain. The witness has a vested interest in allowing us to share the whole truth. And if we're lucky in our choice of witness, the witness can testify back to us what they observed or saw as we share. But why do we need a witness for healing, or for feelings, or for pain? It's because we all have places where we are blocked from truly seeing or feeling the truth, places where we have lost self-awareness. And someone who sits with us in the energy of compassion, with non-judgment, and with knowledge that we are all fellow humans doing our best, can often sense discordance, disharmony, places where we do not see clearly, and they can, with love, shine a little truth on those areas. Keep listening as we talk about why a witness like this is important. There are a few reasons why some feelings or pains can't shift or can't be healed without being witnessed. And for the purpose of this episode, we'll talk about them as if in these areas we have lost a level of self-awareness, of self-connection around these things. We are out of tune with our own sacred self and may not know how to get back in tune. As I talk about these, think about the times you've had a key conversation with someone, a parent, a friend, coworker, partner, where they helped you fundamentally shift something inside you by how they sat with you, maybe something they said, or how they allowed you to be yourself in some small way for the first time ever. One of the reasons we may need a witness to help us heal is that we are so used to thinking in the patterning of our environment or in our response to trauma. Something happened and we adopted a pattern, a disconnected thought, feeling, or behavior pattern that we don't see clearly. For example, if I am a people pleaser, when I share my experience, it will be through the lens of how I am needed by others, or how others perceive me, or how I feel others are looking at me. I won't be able to recount exactly my experience alone because I'm disconnected from my own voice as my authority, and I'm hooked into what the thoughts and feelings of others are. And the person with us, in a case like that, the witness, may be able to sense when I'm talking out of a place of people-pleasing or when I'm talking out of my authentic self. They recognize that we are sharing out of our pattern as if it's the only truth and that it is a pain-induced pattern, and they can help us address the source of the pain. A second reason to need a witness may be that we have always felt alone. And when we feel alone, we feel like we are missing resources and support, and that makes us scared of the unknown. Will we be able to handle what's in the unknown? We've always had to do things ourselves, and maybe many times didn't have what we needed to accomplish that thing. Because going on the deep, dark roller coaster of healing is definitely an unknown, we're simply scared. A witness becomes a companion to help soothe that fear, someone to hold our hand, or someone to shine a light on the path for us, or someone that provides a safeguard if we feel that we are unsafe, if we fear that. On healing journeys, sometimes we have simply become so tired of doing life by ourselves that we cannot go another step feeling that way. We must be seen or held by someone else, or we will collapse from exhaustion if we haven't already. A third reason that we may need a witness is that the healing we want to do is blocked by shame, something false and negative that we believe, not about something we do or a way we act, but about ourselves, about the core self. Whether we were taught by someone or something in our environment, or we came up with this belief about how unlovable and unworthy we are all on our own, A shame belief can block a transformation. If I, as an example, believe that no parent screams at their child, but I have screamed at my child, and I've done it more than once, how can I heal the thing that is causing me to scream when I can't talk to anyone about it? The shame of feeling like I'm the only one who is this awful blocks me from being able to heal. So if I have a compassionate witness to whom I can tell how awful and ashamed I feel, and they meet me with empathy and non-judgment, or they say something like, I have screamed at my children too, suddenly I feel less alone. I'm not the only one who screamed, which means this has happened to other people, which must mean that some people have found ways to work through that to be more calm with their children, which means there might be hope for me. And now I can start looking for ways to transform the cause of my screaming. Without a witness of my experience, I might believe I'm the only one who screams at my children, and I stay trapped, without hope and without help. And one more reason we might need a witness is that we don't know what we don't know. And the right witness at the right time may be able to provide that key piece of knowledge, whether that's from their expertise and training, or their life experience, or their intuitive connection to their own core self, their own wisdom, and to your need. They may reflect back to you the one thing you needed to hear. And even in a moment, it's like you feel chains of bondage falling away from you. The question to ask then is, what makes a good witness? Here's the wonderful thing in life. Many people make good witnesses. They can be found everywhere. I have had hairdressers and cashiers and sweet old ladies and children all act as wonderful witnesses, providing just what I needed in a moment. I have had my teenagers witness me in a way that soothed some feeling or some shame. Sometimes it's even my dog. These moments of synchronicity, when someone slows down and really sees you for who you are and whatever you're dealing with, can be magic. So that's one happy thing to know. It doesn't always have to be deep and dark and involve tears and long talks at coffee shops or on a therapist's couch. Witnesses are everywhere. But there are a few suggestions I can make. And as I do this, think of the people who you have felt safe and seen with, and what made them be that positive witness for you. What about that experience made them the right person at that time? Here are my suggestions. Look for the person who treats you well, who seems to see you, not just your behavior or the way you emote or your roles in life. Look for someone who is practiced in empathy, who you feel is in your court. Look for people who share their own tough pieces, places they are ashamed, and are actively growing and healing themselves. Don't look for perfection. Just look for a willingness in this person to sit with and a willingness to grow. And if you're looking for a professional, whether that's Western medicine certified or Eastern or other holistic modalities, look for someone who talks about wholeness and who makes you feel more whole simply by being in the room with them. And maybe someone who specializes in the areas you feel are a struggle for you. Look for non-judgment. Can they talk about what you are struggling with in language that makes you feel more seen, more calm, more at home in your body, instead of feeling more judged, more lacking, more ashamed? Do they see you as a person or as a dollar sign? Are they anxious to share their expertise because they have so much of it? Or do they slow down to really see and hear you? Are they there to serve you or to validate themselves? When I was looking for a counselor many years ago, I searched local websites for just the right fit. My struggle was that I had a lot of spiritual pain from having learned views of God that were harsh and ill-fitting for me, and from leaving the church I'd grown up in when I was 30. I'd also had spiritual experiences and felt I needed a counselor who could allow me to work through those with respect, not someone who was outspokenly atheist or someone who wasn't acquainted at all with religion or somebody who might feel all spirituality was nonsense. And I just couldn't find what I needed. So, when a friend recommended her counselor, I looked at this person's website and saw that she mentioned some kind of spirituality and how she felt like she had wandered for a time searching for what she needed and at last found a spiritual home inside of herself. The language was a little bit vague for me. I didn't understand what she meant, but something about what she wrote pulled at me. I went into my first session with her already raw, already lots of emotions bubbling up. This was in the very fragile time I've talked about before in 2018 when a lot was going on in my life and a lot of pain was coming up. I laugh now because she asked me what was happening to bring me to therapy, and I just started gushing words and emotions that she had to keep up with. Thankfully, she was very experienced and didn't blink an eye. She just wrote so rapidly across her yellow notepad and let me spill it all as I needed to. But here's the thing. Not only had I found someone with some spiritual awareness and experience, somehow I'd gotten lucky enough. She was also aware of high control, high demand groups like the one I had left. And she knew the effects of groups like that on the mind and emotions and body of a person. When I would share something, she would say, well, yes, that makes sense because the group dynamic is this, and that's how it affects people. And then she would exactly put into words what I wasn't able to put into words myself. And I felt seen. For the first time in 5 years, somebody neutral and unbiased was able to hold space for me. Even while it had been my choice to leave the church, it came with unimaginable loss, as well as some events that were very traumatic for me, and with not a lot of support. Not much at all, actually, other than my husband to process the pain of some of those events. And 5 years later, I was able to sob out some of that grief, some of that pain while sitting on her couch. I had held it inside for 5 years. I'd felt like there was really no one to see that pain, my pain. Either the people with me had been through it too and would share from their experience, which meant I couldn't just share about me and their experience wasn't neutral, or it was people who couldn't understand why I'd been so affected. And this person was just the right witness for me, both for the spiritual pain, because she had gone on her own journey and understood pieces of religion and spirituality and where spiritual pain can come from, but also she allowed me to feel and express what had happened and helped me to frame what had happened in my thinking mind so that I felt more understanding, more ease around all of it. I could explain the dynamics to myself and I could be more comfortable. And from that place of more internal balance, I could start to make choices that supported me instead of feeling invalidated and unseen in my life. I could drop some of the weight of that hard experience and feel like a person, not a bag of pain. The right witness at the right time can be pivotal. This begs the question, do we always need a witness? I mentioned earlier that it is my opinion that we cannot heal without being witnessed, but here's what that means. Healing cannot happen without some level of self-awareness, but we, ourselves, can be our own witness. Self-awareness is the act of witnessing something in or about ourselves or our environment. It is the act of watching, observing, and holding the truth of our experience at any level. We can be aware of our hunger or thirst, of a need for clothing, of a need for friendship, of an emotion bubbling up inside, of fear encroaching on our mind, anxiety tightening our chest. We can be aware of being triggered in an argument, aware that pain is coming up in a moment, and it's not from this moment, but from the past. We can be aware of so much. And self-awareness is vital to living a whole, fulfilled life. Self-awareness is, at its core, the act of witnessing for ourselves. When I see clients in sacred self sessions, they often come in with a wound. I carry these same wounds. Most of us do. They come in great pain with something being triggered in their lives. Something about recent circumstances, family events, whatever is bringing up childhood and past pain, often related to the family they were born into. They tell me their family does not accept them, doesn't respect them. Their family doesn't love them. And so, with love and gentleness and non judgment, and not expecting any one outcome, just exploring with our curiosity, the person slowly sinks into their inner awareness and into that pain. And it hurts. They cry and they gasp from how it hurts. And they tell me how much it hurts. And we continue to witness the pain. We don't turn away from it. Unless that person relates something to me or for themselves, that means the pain is not ready to be seen at a deep level at that moment. And then we pause and follow where their awareness is taking them on a different route to something else that wants to be witnessed, because that is the journey. We don't dictate how healing works. We follow the awareness and the self-connection where it wants to take us. We hold space for the fullness of that hurt. Maybe a memory or two comes up and the person shares how they were affected, almost as if they're reliving that moment. But as we continue to witness, to make room for things to come up, there comes a moment of realization for them. They gasp again and they say, "Oh, it's not that my family doesn't accept me. It's that I don't accept me. I couldn't see how good I was. I've been rejecting myself because I thought that part of me was bad. So instead of accepting myself, I've been judging me, and that's why I could never feel anything good from them." And then they start to cry again, just a little bit. And they breathe, and then they cry again. And then they express how shocking this information is for them, and how it's hard to believe, but at the same time, how true it feels. And then they take a few more deep breaths, and their body relaxes, and their face is beginning to shine, and they start to tell me, "Oh, I can see me. I'm just the sweetest thing. I was so innocent. I was just trying to do my best. I rejected myself because I wanted my sister and my mom to love me, so I tried to be like them. And now when I feel weird around them, it's because I'm not accepting me, and I feel like I have to try hard to get their attention, when really they're just living their lives. And oh, I see that if I can relax and accept me, it's like I don't feel rejection from them as much. They're not really rejecting me. They're just not paying as much attention to me as I thought they were. I thought they were doing it on purpose." You see, often the witness we most need is ourselves. We are crying to be witnessed by others, especially the ones closest to us. And yet the need that is most at the core is for us to see ourselves. At some base level, this is what our inner self is crying for. Do you see me? Can you be with me? I am worth being with. I am worth seeing. I am worth you letting your attention be here with me. You don't have to leave. We are full of wonder and beauty and light. We have so much good inside us. Can you stay here with me? Here? Inside? Just for a while? And when we are able to sink inside, simply to witness and observe, step after step, what comes up, we have the ability to see ourselves clearly, our own innocence, goodness, effort, motives, hurt, our naked essence, and how our personality and body and everything about us was trying so hard, and we can't help but feel compassion toward ourselves. as well as see and honor our own strengths and gifts. And that process of honoring what we see is the kind of witness we need, the kind of witness we all already are at the core, the ability we all have within to simply let something bubble up, observe it, talk to it, let it speak or show or move. Feel it. Put your arms around it. Be acquainted with it. And let it move on when it's ready. My personal suggestion is when you are moving into a healing step, use the awareness you have already built to say, what is going on for me right now? What do I need at this step? Or if you keep feeling blocked, instead of getting mad at the block or giving up, ask yourself what the block might be. The block is only another invitation for awareness. It is not keeping you from your healing. The block is the way into your healing. So take a look at that block. Allow yourself to go a bit deeper into the feeling of it. Is it fear of what might happen? Do you need someone to help safeguard this process for you? Is it exhaustion? Do you need some time or some nourishment or a break before you take on that next healing step? Or do you need someone to help strengthen you with their presence? Is it that you are afraid to tell someone how awful you are and the bad things you see in yourself? You may want to find someone who openly talks about their experience with that thing, even an Instagram account or therapist who speaks raw and vulnerably about it, so you can bolster up your ability to see yourself as a human, having a normal human experience, and then you may be able to move through that block. There are no shortage of voices like this out there. In fact, there are more every day. You can search using hashtags. You can ask friends for recommendations. If your shame is around, yelling at your children, there are numerous solid resources about how to heal the way you respond to people and that normalize that experience. You are not the only one. And if you, on your own, are working through a self-awareness or healing step, and none of it feels so big that you need someone else to support you, but you still aren't sure what to do to allow your awareness to go deeper, place your hand on your heart. Say to yourself, I want to see you. I am here for you. You can bring up whatever you need to. For the next few minutes, I am going to sit here as a witness of anything I need to experience or feel. And then let yourself feel it. You don't have to do anything big. You don't need to follow up, make new choices, or act on anything. Simply allow yourself to see yourself. Sometimes that is all we need. Thank you for listening to this episode. The Seeking the Sacred Self podcast is now available on YouTube. Head over there to like and subscribe if that's your platform of choice. And I'll see you next time when we go a little deeper again.